What's going on, y'all? We're back. I know I let another hiatus happen. I mean, it was a bit tricky for me last week. I had a thing that I'm still actually trying to get rid of as we speak, but I'm not necessarily feeling the same effects from it or anything like that, so that's good news. But it was just real interesting just having to cover for one of my coworkers throughout the week, and there's something to be said about not being used to working a certain amount of hours and everything. That definitely winds up getting to you, but it certainly is helpful for me in the sense that I do feel a lot better. I'm a lot more rested now. I feel a bit stronger, and I'm still picking up more hours at work, so that's also good news as well. But all that out of the way, unfortunately, what I have to speak about here isn't necessarily as good for a number of folks, as I'm watching Shadir Sanders try to manage something against Oregon. As some of you may have actually seen, I was actually live on Twitch, twitch.tv/ANJ Network. Every CU Buffs and Denver Broncos game, I'm on. But not now at this point. We're pretty much done with this. It wasn't even close to begin with. But regardless, I'll of course talk about that in another video, but regardless, it wound up proving to be quite a tumultuous week, especially in the world of wrestling, specifically with World Wrestling Entertainment. And I gotta say, it's real tricky for me at this point in time, because I struggle to know where I'm at with this sort of thing, because I think back to the 2020 and 2021 release waves that they had, and they actually had a little bit of one last year, but compared to really 2020, that wasn't nearly as bad. I think this was halfway there though, but it was just insane the number of names that just kept getting released one by one by one, and it seemed like reports were coming out like every 2 to 3 minutes. For about 15 or so minutes, there was another person getting released. I mean, we're talking about the likes of Karrion Kross, Keith Lee, Mia Yim. I'm trying to remember all the ones because there are so many of them, and there are quite a few that came back. I believe Emma was one of them, and of course, interestingly enough, she's one of the ones that got let go again recently. But it's just wild because now, it's not so bad, because one thing I will preface everything I'm about to read here, I'm going to preface it by saying that this is just the list of names that I have thus far. I'm thinking there are some that have taken place since then. There was a major one that happened last night, and I'll get into that. But there were upwards of about 22, 23, at least 2 dozen names, or close to 2 dozen names, that were released on, I believe it was Thursday. And I'm going to just start from the bottom here, and we'll get some more notable names. But I do want to point out before I go into this list of names, many of these people weren't on TV, haven't been on TV for a considerable amount of time. Some weeks, others even months. And even in a couple of cases, as I go through this list, some of them haven't even made it on TV at all. I mean, it's just crazy to think about, because, just how many opportunities are being missed. And then there's a matter of Jade Cargill coming in, along with Brian Pillman Jr., and of course they had tryouts recently, which involved a plethora of indie wrestlers. I don't have that list in front of me, but we'll go into that in another video. Anyways, I'll get started on this. The first name, and I'm not sure if I'm going to get this one, but Abule Abadi Fitzgerald. Wow. That's one hell of a name there. Apologies if I butchered your name there. If you're seeing this. But yeah, that one was a tough one, but the rest aren't so bad. We got Brooklyn Barlow. And again, we're going to be going through a few names here that really haven't made it on TV, or just at the very least, I haven't seen them perform on TV at all. And in all fairness, a lot of them probably have more or less been on Level Up, and I don't watch Level Up at all. I'll just be perfectly honest with that. But from there, we go Brooklyn Barlow, Alexis Gray, Daniel MacArthur, Kevin Ventura Cortez, Bryson Montana, and this one's really interesting. Quincy Elliott. Oh my God, I don't know why. Wow. Anyway, Quincy Elliott, he was the quintessential diva. Um, he made, I think, 2 appearances on NXT TV, if I recall correctly. Maybe a bit more than that. But hadn't been seen in a while again. And this turns out that this was based on him causing some issues backstage. Now, I don't know any of the details, and I didn't really get much information about it. But when I heard about this, my eyebrows were about as raised as they are right now. So, yeah, just to give you an idea how wild that is, because I actually saw some potential in his gimmick. Certainly a flamboyant type, but super heavyweight, to say the least. Was about, I think he went about 6'4", probably about 350 or something like that. I'm not 100% sure. Again, this is a while ago when I last saw him, so you'd have to bear with me on that. But he looked like he had something to him, and maybe he still does. I don't know. Maybe he works his game on the independent scene. We'll find out. I mean, hopefully he figures that out, because I mean, you don't want to ruin opportunities like this for whatever reason. But anyway, moving from there, Yulisa Leone, which is surprising, as her partner Valentina Ferois. I forget which one of them it was, but one of them was out with an injury. I believe it was Valentina, and I'm pretty sure it was Yulisa that was still on TV for about a month and a half, and she was still holding it down. Ferois actually made it back. Valentina Ferois, I'm probably not sure if I'm saying that right, but Ferois came back. They actually did have an appearance or two on NXT TV, but that feels like that's been about a month now. Ika Manjiro, I forgot he was even with the fucking company to begin with. That tells you what you need to know. But he was the jacket man, basically. He was rocking the colorful sports coats. Anyway, Shanky was working very closely with Jinder Mahal and Veer Mahan when they were a part of that group. Now it's largely been Veer, Jinder, and Sangha. I don't know why I was struggling with that name. But they haven't been on TV in a while now, to be fair. They've been doing a lot of work as far as the promotion. They did have a premium live event over in India not too long ago, so there's that. Let's keep that in mind, even though Shanky was there for that too. But nonetheless, Dabba-Kato, another name, he was on fairly recently. They must not have been too happy with him. Dana Brooke, which is really interesting because she was getting a lot of TV time and was actually in the middle of a storyline of sorts. Now she's gone. Mansoor, Mace, of course, they were Maximum Male models. Haven't seen them in about a month or so. Rick Boogs, haven't seen him in some time since he was drafted over to Raw. Top Dollar, man, why'd they even bring him and Hit Row back? That's really all I'm going to say to that, is why did they even bring him back? Aaliyah, I mean, honestly, it's very impressive that she was able to get to the main roster as it was. I didn't think she was ready to go when she was. That was clearly a Vince McMahon call. They brought her up too soon. Brought her up way, way too soon. Riddick Moss and Emma, they're engaged, so that's going to be interesting to see where they go. I'm inclined to believe either AEW or Impact Wrestling at this point. And then, of course, the biggest, most surprising name of the initial releases, Mustafa Ali. I found out some wild stuff that I'll go into in a moment about him. But now we also have Elias, Shelton Benjamin, most notably Dolph Ziggler, multiple-time world champion Dolph Ziggler, or former world champion, multi-time champion in WWE, I should say. And then finally, most recently, as of I want to say it was about maybe 5, 6 o'clock in the evening last night, Matt Riddle. I mean, golly, this dude was just... He couldn't stop being wild about whatever it was he's been so wild about on his off time. I mean, sheesh, that's all I can think to say about that. But getting back into Mustafa Ali, apparently the reasoning behind his release is the whole controversial character work behind his little vignette that he had, as he actually was actually getting ready to take on Dominic Mysterio for the North American Championship. That ain't happening now, but apparently it was because the vignette was way too politically geared, and just... I'm not even going to go into it about that, but the weird thing about it is that he had asked for his release back in 2020. It might have been 2021. Either way, it was 2 or 3 years ago when the other releases happened, yet he was denied. Now all of a sudden they want to let him go. Funny how that works out. I mean, one positive I can say to that is that it was people that largely haven't been on TV for a significant amount of time. But even for the ones that have been on TV recently, and even most notably Dolph Ziggler, it's just wild to see this happen the way that it has, just for the fact. And then, of course, there's the prospect of possibly bringing in the CM Punk, now that the Endeavor merger is complete and we've got TKO Financial, or whatever it is that they're supposed to be. But we'll see where all that goes. Let me know what y'all think on all this. It was really wild to see. I meant to react on this yesterday, but saved it for today. Now my batteries are recharged, and I actually plan on doing a couple more here. And again, I was watching this CU game. Probably going to talk about that. Going to talk a little bit about Broncos, Dolphins, and everything else in between. Nonetheless, thanks for being here, and I'm going to get at y'all.